This is Video XYZ with Nick, and today we've got Lindsay joining us. Lindsay is a 3 times founder and brand builder. She now coaches, advises, and consults with entrepreneurs to help them be brave and build more human brands. Lindsay's also a speaker and podcast host. Lindsay, welcome.
Thank you, Nick. It's exciting to be here.
It's funny. You and I've talked a few times and worked together on and off leading up to this. We both have twins. So I've got 2 girls. They're 4 years old as of a few weeks ago. And I just love running into other people that are twinning. It's
Especially
a different kind of life.
Founders who are twinning. I think that there's something, it's like you've tapped into your superpower and it's like there's no stopping you.
It's something wildly efficient about it. Like I just started with twins. Like we went straight for 2. So I don't know any other way. But they're so much fun. They're so different. And it's great being a dad. So
yes, agreed. Well, parent. Anyway.
Parent. There you go. Yeah. So this podcast, we're going to be unpacking the importance of video, some of the different things to take into consideration, and wanted to get your perspective on how video can help your brand feel more human.
That's everything, right? Because if it doesn't feel human, what are the humans that you're trying to interact with and engage with going to experience? So
when I look at that theme, there's so many different ways you can engage online, from an audio only podcast to blog content to social posts. There's something just a little bit different about video where you get to see someone, you get to know them. I don't know. Can you speak to that a little bit? For sure.
I think so. My past life was all about podcasting, right? Which has very quickly, and I'm very, very glad, become synonymous. Podcasting is now video and podcasting. Why would you have a podcast without a video unless it was an intentional strategy, right? And there's all this data and all these statistics about listening in on a conversation, right? Listening in, watching a conversation between 2 people, like what we're doing right now, and what it does for the experience and for the engagement. And it not surprisingly leads to much higher trust, much higher credibility, much higher ability to recall what that conversation was about. The people who watch and listen in, who are joining in on and being spectators to this conversation, feel like they're part of it. It creates a relationship, right? So we can write content all day long. We can post to our social media accounts and add content to the website all day long. And that's great. And that we can and we should. But if you're trying to actually establish a relationship with the people in your audience, which I think we would all agree is important, why in the world would you not start with video? Why would you not? And it's efficient and fun to create as well.
I've been 10 years on this journey of starting Switcher. And I remember in the early days, I was really intentional about doing interviews and getting on camera and talking about what we were building. And then as we started to find traction and the company was growing, like I went heads down. I turned inward, and there was so much that was around how to operationalize the business and how to scale, and are we building the right thing, and product. And for a while, I let go of that, like being seen. We've got this incredible user group and online community of people that use our product and share ideas and ask questions and help one another. And that's one place where I've continued to be involved, but I've got a video company and I don't do video as much as I should. So I'm really excited to get back on the train, and really excited to have you here on the show. When I look at this and we talk about video, there's so many different formats. I think it can be overwhelming. Like, where do I start? Is it a podcast? Should I be doing TikToks? Do we need to hire an agency? And it's easy to jump to that, like, what is the end result? But I think before you jump into like, what's it going to be, it's really important to center on what are your goals. And so with that, I look at kind of the concept of a funnel. And it's not even specific to video, but if you could speak a bit to like, what are those different stages in the funnel? And then maybe we can talk a bit about how that might tie into different types of video.
Yes. And I couldn't agree more. I mean, you and I've talked about this, and I say it all the time. Who is it for? Why are you doing it? Right? Because otherwise you will either get completely overwhelmed and do nothing, or you'll try to do everything just for the sake of doing everything. You jump right to the tactics, and that can get really overwhelming extremely fast. So when you back up and you say, who is this for? Who am I trying to reach? Certainly it's not everyone. So who am I trying to reach, and why am I doing it? Which gets to the funnel. So is this for high level brand awareness? Is it to educate? Is it to entertain? Or is it to launch a new product? Is it to compare yourself to a competitor? Is it to, convert? You're finding something a little bit later in the process or your sales process that you just need something to get people across the line that's very, very, very targeted, because those are different parts of the relationship that you have with your audience. If people are just starting to get to know you, you're building credibility, you're building trust. That's that really high level thought leadership, sharing opinions, entertaining, getting people engaged with what you have to say and with what you have to offer and how you can help solve their problems. It's starting the conversation. Whereas if you need something that's you're bringing people in that funnel, you have those relationships that you need them to do something, you need them to actually convert. That's where you get more targeted and much more specific, maybe more product oriented. So it's really, to your point, it's really, really, really important to understand what your funnel looks like, and they're not all the same. And where you possibly have some leaks, where it can be stronger. And those are a good place to really look at and say, okay, where could we kind of plug these holes with some really specific targeted videos?
Yeah, I think about the type of video you might make for your team or for training, or even like the conversations you're going to have internally are going to be a lot lower stakes and lower pressure than something you put out there in the wild. And I think this is where a lot of people get tripped up, is there's just this pressure for it to be perfect.
Yeah.
And I think the thing we're finding more and more is there's so much content. Don't wait. You've got to go, and you've got to keep going, and know that maybe you'll stumble, maybe you'll say the wrong thing. Maybe people will love it, maybe they won't. But I think strapping in and like making that commitment to not just do one video, but the next and the next and the next, and building up that routine and that consistency. Is the thing where you'll be seen.
Yes.
And so from a funnel perspective, I think about this in terms of, at the highest level, it's reach and awareness. From there, it's things like trust and credibility. And then with that, you're going to see, who's engaging the most. And this is your opportunity to get leads. Who is that person where you can keep them warm and you can keep communicating. And then ultimately, if you're a business, there's probably some kind of goal around a transaction. Like, can we get them in the store? Can we get them to buy a product or service? Can we get them to book a call? And so the types of videos you're going to create for those different goals map to
different
format. And so your reach and awareness, sure, short form vertical video, like TikTok, Instagram, that's where it's at. If it's something where you're going to gate that video or charge for access, it's probably a course. But you and I were talking right before the call. I think it's really hard to jump straight into the bottom of that pyramid unless you're thinking about those other things or have done some work to build awareness, to build credibility and trust, which is going to come through having a series of videos or ongoing content where they get to see you and know you.
Exactly.
So I don't know. I would love just to hear your take on what are some of those different formats, how they might map to the funnel. I feel like I probably got a little deeper on it to start.
I think that what I see quite often is people getting really comfortable with one type and just doing that, right? It's either thought leadership all day, every day, forever and ever, which is great. But then it begs the then what, right? You're just constantly sharing opinions, really high level thoughts, passing videos and opinions on social media, if you will. And then people are like, this is so cool. This person gets me. This company gets me. But it stays shallow. People are begging for more, but you're never producing it, right? Another thing is quite often, to kind of what you said, is people want to jump right into the gated or content that they can monetize. And I think, understandably so, because there is no shortage of people, voices, exclaiming that you can do that. Create your course in 15 minutes and make $1 million while you sleep tonight. You have to your point, you have to create that credibility. I mean, imagine if you were a human and you walked into a room of people. And without establishing any credibility at all, you just started asking people for money. Like you have to get booted right out. Right. So you different forms for different stages in the process, make sure you have them all covered. And you have to we're all people, just like you do in human relationships. You have to introduce yourself. You have to establish a relationship, establish credibility, establish trust, and then start to say, hey, I know that you have this problem. I can solve it. Here's how. And so think through that in terms of relationship building and the different types of content. So yes, content that you can monetize, courses, classes, workshop sessions, anything that you do that you're currently trading time for money, like you're teaching a yoga class, or you're doing coaching, or you're advising on a very specific topic. Yeah, you can absolutely monetize that, but people need to know who the heck you are and why they should give you their money to pay attention and to consume that content. So yeah, I think working through that process and making sure you have all of your bases covered. And as much as we all want to, you can't just jump right to, no matter what anybody says, you can't just jump right to the monetization. But also don't get stuck in only doing thought leadership.
Right on. Yeah, I think just creating content for social is to what end? You're there, you can get likes, you can get follows, but what does it mean for your business? And I think
for your business, yeah, and for your audience. I mean, we've talked about this before too on social media. Great, you have 100 billion followers on platform of the day. Then what? Like, how are you going to eventually own that audience, own those relationships, and do anything with it, right? Because the algorithms are ultimately the ones in control.
I see this with LinkedIn all the time, is that there's so many changes on like what they prioritize. And so you see people change what they're doing just to chase the algorithm. And I don't know that it's necessarily the content they want to be creating,
right?
Or the thing that really delivers the most value. It's just in service of the platform, and they're experimenting. I don't even know if they know sometimes.
Well, and the thing that drives me crazy, Nick, is that the more we collectively chase the algorithms, the more LinkedIn and any other social platform is going to make that the thing, right?
Right. Yeah.
Like if
it's
we're validating it.
Yeah.
Yeah. We're validating it. We're saying, okay, all right, you have to structure your post like this and post this often and do these things and include a link, but no, don't include a link and do a video. Just kidding. Do a selfie. Like the more we do that, it validates that the algorithms are in control. And if we instead follow the people that we like, respond to the conversations that matter to us, engage in ways that are authentic to us as humans, guess what? The social platforms will start rewarding that behavior, because all they're trying to do is have, they are businesses too. They're trying to increase engagement on their own sites. And so please stop chasing the algorithms, everyone. It's making us all angry. None of us like it.
I shared some of this going into this whole series and why we're talking about these types of things. When I started Switcher a decade ago, social was still in the early days. And I think there's still a lot of benefits of social, but it wasn't as pay to play. It wasn't as driven by the algorithm. There were real conversations and real people posting, and
it wasn't even as professional. It was so much more. It was much more personal too.
Yeah, it's not just brands and creators. It was for everyone. And now I think it's a bit more like TV. It's just we're all consumers, and it's content. But you've seen these platforms go from photos or links or text posts to, it's all about video. And especially short form, you can get someone to just scroll all day long, and it's more time on platform in these silos where they want to keep you there to serve you more ads. But I think with that there is a takeaway in the power of video. Like it's the thing that's getting people to stay longer.
Yeah.
And if you are participating in social in that way, and you can bring people back to your own home base, and you're incorporating video as part of that. I've seen articles from Forbes. It's like website pages with video. It's 6 times more time on the page. Um, how much more are people going to know about your products and your services? Are they going to sign up for your newsletter? Are you actually going to know who's watching your video versus like it's just some anonymous view
Right.
that's one of 1,000 views on social? Uh, I think there's a lot of power there. And so when we go back to the funnel, and talk about reach and awareness at the top, social all day long, absolutely do it. But if you want to move people through that funnel, it probably means getting them off social and to your own channels. It's at the end of the day, social is a channel, just like
100%.
a blog or a billboard or a podcast. It serves a purpose to get people back to you to learn about your products and services. So here, I'd love to talk a little bit about what is the importance of video on your website. What are some of those reasons to bring it back home?
In a word, human. And yes, I 100% could not agree more. Social media is good, but it has a place, right? And you summed it up perfectly in that there are literally millions and millions of people on social media. So why would you not use social media to raise awareness, to introduce yourself, to reach more people? But the mistake that a lot of people make is that they stay there. They stay there and then they drop a link to their website, and then their website is a completely different experience. So on LinkedIn, it's walking around and talking and videos and carousels. And then they go to your website and it's like words, words and pictures.
Yeah.
And so of course people are going to drop off because nobody wants to sit there and read your 50-page website. And so where does video have a place? Carry through that humanness, carry through that personality. Your social media experience is all about story and people and experiences and opinions, and like it's exciting, right? And it's scrolling and it's interactive and
fresh.
It's engaging.
It's new. Yeah.
It's fresh and new all the time. And it's, hey, join me in this conversation, see what's happening in our world. And then you go to the website and it's like, this is our product. We're not going to tell you what the price is. Click and we'll call you. Like, just carry that through and have videos. And we were talking earlier, a lot of, I love seeing the $20,000 explainer video on the homepage. That's cool, but that's not check a box and be done. Like, put fresh videos on there. I love that Switcher makes that easy for business leaders, thought leaders, brand owners to create videos and make that website experience fresh and new and exciting and engaging all the time, because that we are still early enough that if you do that, you can be a pioneer. Like if you have a fresh and exciting, constantly evolving, engaging website, you get to be the leader of the pack.
Yeah. I remember before I started Switcher, I had an agency, and it was like we were just starting to get a taste for responsive websites. It's like, oh my gosh, you could have something that looks good on a computer, like kind of morph to look good on a phone. Yeah. And I like lived through that transition. It's like I still had clients that like we don't care. Like people are going to go to our website on computers, and I feel like we're still kind of living in that moment. And that was a decade ago. It was like, is your website responsive? Okay. And it's just, they're so static. There's a lot of time and thought that goes into like representing who you are and like coming up with a logo and, talking about what you sell. And I think for anyone that's starting a business, time and time again, I see that being one of the first steps they take. It's probably one of the first 10 things anybody does when they start a business. It's like, I have to have a website for trust, for credibility, so people know who I am. And I think it's where transactions happen. I see things on social more and more where, it's link your Shopify account or buy this product on TikTok or on Instagram. And the thing I'm seeing start to play out is like, it removes your brand. Like they just bought from Instagram.
Shopify. Yeah.
They just bought from TikTok. Like you're becoming more and more invisible, and because they own that transaction, they get to demand, their share. And so right now it might be 0, but like expect it to be 30%, because when they figure out how to make that work, people are going to buy, but I think you become a ghost.
Yes.
And
that's a good way to put it.
And there's so much value in getting people back to your website where they're going to see you, they're going to see your logo, they're going to trust that they can make that transaction, and they're going to get what you promise.
Yeah.
But when there's no video, or one video that you paid $10,000 or $20,000 for, it's just such a jarring experience to go from social, where it's become so video centric, to like, to your point, words on a page. So I know we batted around some ideas of just different ways we've seen people bring video to their websites. Could you share a few of those examples?
Yeah. I mean, I love this. I love that podcast and video is still a thing and a growing thing. I think it should be, because these are conversations. We talked at the beginning of our conversation about conversation and how by recording these and inviting people in on them, that becomes very personal, and it builds relationships. And so I love to see conversational shows like this getting pushed to earlier up into the website experience, so that they're not buried way down into a content hub only. I love content hubs, but like use them on your web, like on your homepage and further up on your website too, so that people can hear your opinions. And if they do come across your website from a very high level, reach and awareness experience on social media, click through to your website, and then they see us talking again on your website. It's like, oh yeah, this is Nick. This is the guy that I saw on social media. Now he's having these conversations. I bet I'd like that too, and draw them in. So that's one. And then I think having videos explaining product, I think, are really great too. That's lower in the funnel. That's later in the sales process. But when you're at the point that you're considering a purchase, or you've gone through a demo, or you're evaluating competition, if you have somebody actually talking you through a product and talking you through product updates or launches or enhancements, that's pretty exciting, and that's fun to watch, and it's engaging, and it makes you want to be part of it.
Lindsay, I'm going to jump in on this one, and like it's just such a wild example, because for me, this means anybody can do this. There is a vacuum shop that I drive by every day, and I have for the last 15 years. I'm like, how do they stay in business? Like, how is there a place that just sells vacuums? Well, I ended up buying a vacuum from them, and I now know why. But but on their website, they have informational videos on like, how does this thing work, or how do you change X, Y, and Z out, or how do you service it? They've got a ton of videos that have gone viral, where they'll just like throw glitter on the ground and like vacuum it with different vacuums. And it's like, here's a vacuum shop that's doing content on YouTube Shorts for reach and awareness. And then they turn around and they have videos on their website that show you the product. It's a vacuum shop.
Like, don't tell me your product is boring.
Right. They're doing the thing. Yeah. I mean, I can buy a vacuum off Amazon, but like, there's something different about knowing there's someone there that can answer my questions.
It's human.
Right.
It's human. Yeah. And there's a plumbing business, and they do tons of content too. I mean, like, what in the world do you do for video content when you're a plumber?
Well, one of our guests is going to be Roger Wakefield, and he is a plumber by trade. But he's grown this incredible YouTube audience of like 600, 700,000 people, where he's helping consumers learn how to do some things on their own, but he's also helping people in the trades. And he's got a podcast, he's got a website, he speaks at events. Like, he's gone way beyond just a service-based business. So, well,
and that's the thing. Like, don't tell me that, oh, well, it's cool if you're a yoga instructor and you can sell your yoga video, but what I sell is boring. Like, nobody wants to watch a video about it. That's not true. If you start with who is this for and why are you doing it, and you really, really get to know who your audience is and what are the specific situations that they encounter on a regular basis where you can intervene and help solve problems, those are opportunities to create fun videos that personify and humanize your brand and speak to the humans when they are having issues. Like, my kid just dumped glitter all over my carpet. Oh my gosh, there's a video for it. These guys are great. Maybe I should buy a vacuum from them. I mean, it doesn't have to be hard. In fact, it can really be fun.
What's wild here, and I even see it play out in our own business, the Switcher, is like, it's mostly online businesses that are doing online video.
Mhm.
And so I think, that's probably where we're going to play because it's where the world is at. But, we just gave two examples of people that probably don't have to do a lot online, but they are being successful because they are, and they brought video into their strategy.
Yeah. The world keeps getting smaller and smaller as you access technology to help amplify your voice, right? And you are a vacuum shop or a plumber. And why in the world would you not start a larger conversation that gets more eyes and ears on who you are and what you're doing and what you have to offer? And just amplifies your credibility and your reach and your network, and just makes you so much bigger than you would be if you were shouting from your own little corner of the world.
We went into this conversation talking about how to make your brand more human. And I think the thing we keep coming back to is to be human.
Yeah.
How many businesses sell the same thing and can name their top 5 competitors? How many of their competitors are participating online in this way? Either the number one in their category or no one else. And so I think that's where there's just so much opportunity here, because it's not what you sell. It's not the product or service that you have and trying to explain it to death. It's who you are, why you do it, what gets you up out of bed in the morning. And when people see you excited about that, it evokes emotion and connection. And
Absolutely.
I think that is the thing we as humans gravitate toward. It's relationship. It's knowing one another. And I think about brow shops or hair salons, or like I just switched to somewhere new for haircuts, and it's because I have great conversations every time I go.
Yep.
And so I think there's just something about video that allows you to put yourself out there and for people to get to know and trust you.
Absolutely. I was working with another founder, and she is in a space that when she started her business was wide open, right? And they were doing something brand new and very innovative. And now, because AI is involved, it's commoditized. And she's like,
Mhm.
I am one of a billion companies now. And she's like, I'm just having such a hard time cutting through the noise. And she's like, I just don't know that thought leadership matters because I'm just going to be adding to the noise and saying what everybody else is saying. And I was like, you have what literally no one else has, and that's you. No one else has you. Like, no one else started their business for the exact same reason you did. No one looks, sounds, acts just like you. No one has the
Mhm.
same life experience that you do. No one has the context outside of your business that you do. Tell your story, tell your
Yeah.
why, and it's going to be different. That's how you cut through the noise. You don't cut through the noise because you do AI better than everybody else. That's going to be maybe a decision that somebody makes way late. We were talking about the funnel. That's a maybe later decision, but establish that trust so that when somebody goes and buys a vacuum or needs to put some AI on their sales process, they work with you because they like you.
I think people take for granted how much they know about the thing that they do, and how amazing that is to other people. I remember my wife and I had gone out and we stopped at a fiber supply store, and like I thought maybe they sold Ethernet cables. No, it's like fabric and yarn and like anything for sewing. And my wife got really into sewing over the last couple of years, and it's like she could ask any question. They were sharing ideas. They were talking about different, like they had their own language.
Like
Like
what?
I didn't know what was happening, but it was like here, someone that runs the shop and someone that, is really into that world, we're able to make a connection. And yeah, there's just so many examples out there where I think people are really good at what they do, and they know what they do deeply.
Mm-hmm.
And it's the secret, or like they just go through the motions,
Yeah,
and take it a day at a time. And if you could put a little bit of yourself out there, I think you'd be really surprised at the
it's so
results you
true.
might get.
Well, and I think it's really tempting, especially when there's so much fear and scarcity, like there is always, but especially right now. It's tempting to buy into the hack, the easy button, the formula, the chasing the algorithms, because there's your mind starts to tell you that if this person who's yelling at me through the screen has its claims to have it all figured out, maybe they're right, and maybe I should do the thing and try their hack. But they're selling a thing too, and the reason you trust them is that they're being a human, right?
Yeah.
And And that's frustrating to me because I think that there are a lot of people out there boldly being who they are,
Hmm.
but they're doing it at the cost of trying to scare people into believing that what they've done is the only way.
Yeah.
And
They
it's
were
a
just brave enough to
formula.
push the button.
Exactly. And so be what you just said, be brave enough to press the button. Be brave enough to say, I'm not going to fall for like the hack, the easy button, the quick fix. I'm going to take a minute. I'm going to be brave enough to listen to our story, my
Hmm.
company's story, my founder's story, my business's story, and create a through line there. I'm going to build relationships, not chase algorithms.
Right on. All right. Well, I think we're coming up on time for this episode. We did talk about the importance of bringing video to your website, video podcast being a great example. I would also look at things like if you have a blog, we see so many people that take podcasts and turn it into a blog. You can do the inverse as well. If you have something written, like make a video about it, or put video on that page for something that is tied to the context. Testimonials, I think, are another great example. So having your customers share their experience and do that on camera and being able to show a line of that on your website. There's just so many opportunities out there. And again, I think that can be overwhelming because it's like, where do I start? But when the starting point is do nothing at all or pay someone a bunch of money to do it for me, you're not really doing it.
Yeah.
Being vulnerable and taking that first step and making the commitment to build the routine is something that even myself needs to do better. And so I'm really excited to start this show and this series and get back in the groove. And I'm hoping we can inspire some other people to do the same. Lindsay, could you share a bit about what you're up to? I know there was one of your most recent LinkedIn posts that just really resonated for me. The headline was, "It's time we talk about the unspoken journey of being a founder." I really had that resonate with me because I'm a tech founder, but founder, I mean, anybody that's got a business is going through a lot of those same struggles and the ups and downs. And I think it'd be great just if you could share a bit about what you're up to these days.
This is the third company I've started. I did some consulting once upon a time, and then I started a company that was venture-backed SaaS called Casted, and now I've just started my just crazy to me, my third company. Where, as you mentioned, doing some consulting and some coaching, and specifically of founders, because you're right. Founder can mean a vacuum store, or it can mean a tech company. It can be venture-backed, it can be bootstrapped. It looks like a lot of things. And founders there's a lot of glamour around it. You know, there's boss babes and there's founder mode and there's all these things. And yeah, there's a lot of power. There's a lot of excitement. You and I wouldn't be doing things like this if it wasn't pretty great, but it's also the hardest thing I've ever done. And you and I are both twin parents. And so that says a lot. And so I think for me, it's important to me to work with founders and their teams, to do everything that we talked about here: human brands, humanizing their brand, giving permission to be bold and to be brave and to tell your story and to create relationships and to go a little slower, to go deeper and to have long-term success over the quick wins. Like that's the overall goal. And so I work with founders to help them do that kind of on a one-to-one basis. I work with their teams to kind of translate the vision into action. And yeah, it's all about giving founders the support, the energy and the fuel to see through their vision and to carry out their vision, not just to conform to all the pressure that they're under to just keep, pushing that boulder up the hill. So it's all about humanness. Human brands win is technically the name
I
of
look
it.
at Instagram, and so much of what we see is the good in things. And even the stories I'm probably going to tell on this podcast or through other conversations are going to be about a lot of the good. But there's a lot of really hard stuff in there too. I've had moments where I thought I was going to throw in the towel, and like, you got to keep going. But being able to be vulnerable, have those conversations, do a bit of reflection or lean on other people, that goes a long way toward helping you through the journey. So
Absolutely.
Lindsay, thank you so much for joining us. Where can people go to learn more about you and your services?
Yeah. Well, we talked a lot about social media, and I start a lot of conversations there. So I'm on LinkedIn a lot. And then humanbrandswin.com is the website.
Awesome. All right. Thank you so much. Take care.
Thanks, Nick.